Hey, hello. I'm David Boles, and this is Boles.tv. It's Boles.television, coming to you live and in concert from the Omaha Civic Auditorium. Well, not really Omaha, but close enough. I don't think they have a Civic Auditorium in Omaha anymore. But we are coming to you live from the East Coast of these United States. Gloomy gust day out there today, again. It seems like it's usually very hot, very gloomy, very humid, and then it rains. And it's so hot when it rains that it boils your skin when it touches you. Well, not really, but you know what I mean. As you can see, this is my latest adventure. Not in skincare, well, not really. My latest adventure in skin cancer biopsies. Here are the two famous ones that healed his scars as white. And so, like every month or so, I go into the skin doctor, get a blue light treatment, which is sort of like sunshine on your face to theoretically stop this kind of stuff from getting worse as you get older. But it's interesting to me because a lot of people who have skin cancer and damage to their skin, it happened to them 40 years ago when they were running around in the sun as a child. And we didn't really understand it back then. We didn't call it sunscreen. We called it suntan lotion. The idea was to put on the lotion to get a deeper, darker tan, not to protect you from the rays of the sun to damage your skin. And so as we age into our dotage, we discover, hey, these are problematic things that pop up. And with my face, like every month I go in to the doctor, and like every month there's something new or weird that I point out to my doctor. This. Some things he says it's nothing, some broken capillaries here, a little red thing on my eyelid. That's nothing. And then sometimes, like when I saw him the other day, 2 days ago, I said, this thing, I've been watching it for like 6 months, and every so often it will just start to like spontaneously bleed. Now, I'm not talking about rivulets of blood. I'm talking about, you wash your face, you dry your face, I don't do anything rough. And then, you're looking at your ugly face in the mirror and you see, oh, gee, there's a little bit of blood coming out of that. I don't think that's normal. So when I mentioned that, he immediately put on his gloves, took out a syringe, and I thought, okay, I know what's coming next. I've done this 10 times. He doesn't even talk to me anymore. And he takes his syringe, and it pinches at the beginning, and then he fills you up with numbing agent that works very quickly. And when I got home, there was a whole white bump on my face. I guess when you put liquid in your forehead, it doesn't have anywhere to go, so it just kind of sticks out. And then, the gloves are on, and then he brings out the tool I call the scraper of torture, where he digs into your bleeding thing a couple of times to get a biopsy, sends it away, and then you pay your $25 fee. And then after that, because you're bleeding from the biopsy, my doctor likes to burn. It's a little thing, a little wire, and and it burns, cauterizes, I guess, the wound, and then if it's cancerous, then we have to go in and we do it all over again. Gloves, shooting up with a syringe, numb, more scraping around the outside, the margins, and then you really get the deep burns. So, we're lucky that we try to figure out what in the world is going on. And will this ever end? Or is this like the beginning of the end of the beginning of the end? I don't know. And I'm not sure if the blue light therapy is helping me because I keep getting these things. Now, maybe that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to like bring out the worst in you so it can get cut off. But my philosophy is, look, I don't want anything on my face, on my body, whatever, that is suspicious. So even if it's, well, take it off, cut it off. And he also did the Freon spray, or what I call Freon spray, the freeze spray on my skin first. He never really ever does that. I don't know why he did it. He didn't tell me why he did it. But it was just like a general spritzing. I did not do the blue light special on the day that I got this thing on my forehead because I guess you can't really do two procedures like that on the same day and have insurance be happy about it. So that is the skin cancer update. I don't know if we'll ever not be updating on this topic, but it's definitely something to keep in mind and to consider. And I do notice that a lot of people around me, when I go out just, hanging out in my life, there are a lot of people using umbrellas and great big sun hats. That's very impressive. And none of them are all, lily white, lily-livered kids like me from the Midwest. They're people of all color types of skin that are protecting their skin from the sun. As a skin doctor told me many, many years ago, pointing to me, there's nothing good under the sun for you. Do not go in to the sunshine. So I said, well, I'll just live my regular life as a vampire and everything will be all right. He did not laugh. That's okay. So in like a week or two, we get the biopsy, go back in 2 weeks. It usually takes about 2 weeks for this to heal. And then we move on and try to keep things in perspective. And you realize that, mistakes you made in behavior, not taking care of your skin 40 years ago, comes back to haunt you. Not a lot of fun. So, hey, the writer's strike is now over 100 days. There were a couple of meetings between the writers and the studios, and there was a little bit of hope on the street. And then, like yesterday, it all came crashing down. This is my guild shirt, by the way, just so we can all see, hey, Writers Guild America. Go Union. And the writers and the producers got together and had a meeting. And I guess, as the story that we're going to share now, as it all unfolds, as the writers, the negotiators, were leaving the building, the producers sent out a press release, sort of behind their back, a couple of days ago. And I guess when you're in negotiations like this, where both sides have an agreement, say, okay, we're going to have this meeting, but we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to go into the back and forth details of every single little thing that we talk about. We're just going to meet, discuss things, go away, come back, meet, discuss things. Keep negotiating. Keep the pipes open. And I guess the writers were very, very angry that this, and I have a copy of it, was released as a press release from the producers for immediate release. The AMPTP releases details of its August 11th comprehensive plan proposal to the WGA. So I guess this is the plan that they offered on the 11th that they've been discussing back and forth. And then they had the meeting on the 22nd about this comprehensive proposal of the 11th that infuriated the writers because it was released behind their back without their knowledge. And the writers say that this, what we're going to look at now, is intended to split and confuse and condemn the writers. The people who don't have anything and who are starving will say, yes, yes, it's more money, take it, go. And the other writers who are maybe a little more established, a little older, maybe a little wiser in the wily ways of how all this works out will say, no, 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 no. This proposal doesn't mean anything. All it means is they're not answering our questions. So here are some of the highlights that are interesting. And you read this at first blush and you think, oh my goodness, look how wonderful this is. And then you hear from the writers. This is the highest wage increase for the WGA in 35 years. A compounded 13% increase over the 3-year contract. An increase of 5% in year 1, 4% in year 2, and 3.5% in year 3. Okay, sounds good, right? Well, maybe, maybe not. On top of the wage increase, from $9,888 a week to $11,371 a week, guarantees up to 9 weeks. And then it goes on to an appendix, which is really interesting as well, where you get extended payments. A showrunner can select 2 writers to be employed together with the showrunner. Okay? These appear to be all the things that the writers were concerned about. But we'll find out, not really. GAI is generated artificial intelligence. I guess that's the new catchphrase. You just don't say AI. Oh, that's passé. That can be anything. We say generated AI, which to me isn't all AI generated, doesn't make sense to me. So this is the artificial intelligence protection. The companies produce landmark protections for writers surrounding its use of generative artificial intelligence, GAI. The companies confirm that because GAI is not a person, is not a writer or a professional writer is defined in this contract, so written material produced by GAI will not be considered literary material under this deal. The proposal gives important safeguards to prevent writers from being disadvantaged if any part of the script is based on GAI-produced material, so that the writer's compensation, credit, and separated rights will not be affected by the use of GAI-produced material. What does that mean? Well, it's a little hard to understand, but here's what they are saying. GAI-produced material is not considered assigned material when determining the writer's compensation. The GAI-produced material will not be considered source material for purposes of determining the writer's credit. GAI-produced written material will not be the basis for disqualifying a writer from eligibility for separated rights. The company will disclose to that writer that the material was written by GAI. The companies also agree to the WGA's proposal that a writer may not be required to use GAI in order to write literary material. So that's very interesting, very confusing. It says, well, GAI is there, but it's not there. If it's there, it will not be credited, but it won't be there because it's going to be in the room, but it won't be in the room. It will be paid for, but not credited and disadvantaged. It's all a bunch of mumbo-jumbo. None of it makes any sense. It sounds good. Oh, GAI-generated material won't count. Has nothing to do with our process. But here's a whole page, a whole paragraph of pages talking about GAI. It seems like it's going to be there and be in the room. And here are some other increases: historical gains, staff writers to receive script fees, minimum orders are doubled. And here you go. This is the money part. This is the part where they're really counting on putting the squeeze on these writers. So here are some examples of new developments. Pre-development rooms, Green light, short-term work in the development room would be paid at a substantial premium of 10 weeks as a minimum. And that's what writers want because that's what they have traditionally had. I'm working on this show. You can't get rid of me in half a day and give my script to AI. I'm guaranteed 10 weeks of work. So $70,000 about for a staff writer, 31% increase. $129,000 for story editors and executive story editors, a 31% increase. $142,000 for all other writer producers, a 44% increase. Anyone who writes a script in a development room is paid an extra $43,000 for a 1-hour script. Agents can negotiate higher rates. Now, regular rooms, writers working under a typical 20-week guarantee, the most common guarantee for writers, even though writers often work longer, they will earn $95,000 for a staff writer, $155,000 for story editors, $170,000 for other writer producers. So you can see this is not really chump change. I mean, when you have billionaires being paid hundreds of millions of dollars for running these companies, and the writers are making $95,000, there's a little bit of an imbalance there. Why should those people be paid so much more money than a writer? That's the question. So after this was released, right, the WGA got very upset. And this is the story from Deadline. WGA slams studio's latest offer and meeting as an attempt to make us cave. They don't want to bargain, they want to jam us. Now, jam is a very interesting term. Just hours after the studio streamers made their latest comprehensive package public, the WGA, the Guild, has finally responded. Now, 3 hours is a long time in a news cycle. And that tells you that the writers were shocked and surprised by what the big studios did. Otherwise, they release theirs, you release yours, and, let people decide. But there was a window of about 3 hours where I'm sure the Guild was panicking, saying, why did they release this? Now we have to, confront this in public so we can set the record straight. 113 days into the writers' strike, the talks look to have broken down altogether again. On Monday of this week, we received an invitation to meet with Bob Iger, Donna Langley, Ted Sarandos, David Zaslav, and Carol Lombardini. The WGA negotiating committee said in an email it was accompanied by a message that it was past time to end this strike, and companies were meow meow. Okay, so let's find out what the Guild had to say. This is what the Guild sent their members in response to what we just discussed. Dear members, after 102 days of being on strike and of AMPTP silence, the companies began to bargain on August 11, presenting us for the first time with a counteroffer, which is we just discussed. We responded to their counter at the beginning of last week, and we engaged in further discussions throughout the week, all in good faith. On Monday of this week, we received an invitation to meet with Bob Iger, Donna Langley, all those people. It was accompanied by a message that it was past time to end this strike and the companies were finally ready to get a deal. Okay, sounds reasonable, right? We, the Writers Guild, accepted the invitation and in good faith met in the hopes that the companies were serious about getting the industry back to work. But instead, on day 113 of the strike, and while SAG-AFTRA is walking the picket lines by our side, we were met with a lecture about how good their single and only counteroffer was. We explained all the ways in which their counters, limitations, and loopholes and omissions failed to sufficiently protect writers from the existential threats that caused us to strike in the first place. We told them that a strike has a price And that price is an answer to everyone, not just some, all of the problems they have created in the business, the producers. But this wasn't a meeting to make a deal. This was a meeting to get us to cave, which is why not 20 minutes after we left the meeting, the AMTP released its summary of their proposals, which we shared. This was the company's plan from the beginning, not to bargain, but to jam us up. It is their only strategy to bet that we will turn on each other. Tomorrow we'll send a more detailed description of the state of the negotiations, and we will see you on the picket lines so that the companies continue to see what the power of labor looks like. So the writers are not happy. And here's another industry analysis. The great backfiring. Did this move by those producers releasing this detailed negotiation backfire and add weeks to the strike? For what it's worth, the report says a source close to the studio tells me that the release was meant to demonstrate the breadth of the proposals, that the major studio players were, in fact, trying to meet the writers' asks, not circumvent the negotiation process. Well, if that was the intent, boy, did it not translate well. It was an incredibly dumb move that totally backfired on them because it added new fuel to the fire for the whole membership, says one showrunner who prefers to remain anonymous. WGA sent the response to the release that we just shared, that it wasn't a deal, they were just trying to jam them up. The actual details of the proposal have essentially been overshadowed by the aftermath of the AMPTP's move, but as we noted yesterday, it includes a new structure to train writers to become showrunners of tomorrow by guaranteeing the length of employment and requiring that at least 2 mid-level writers chosen by the showrunner be assigned to a production, a guaranteed minimum of 10 weeks of employment for writers in development rooms, and quarterly reports of viewership data that will include the total aggregate number of minutes a high-budget SVOD program is viewed and the program's total running time. So this gets even stickier and even worse. And when you're trying to negotiate and deal with someone who is really negotiating with you in bad faith, where you agree no one's going to say anything, we're not going to have press conferences, we're not going to release statements, we're just going into a quiet period so we can work this out, and that doesn't happen, people start to get angry. And people want revenge, and people want to take on the powers that be and bring them to their knees. So that's the update on the Writers Guild strike, still going strong after 14 days. What a mess. So we're going to take a very brief break, and then we will return with the leopard that ate my face. And it's not about this. Returning in a moment. And hey, we are back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. It's Boles.television. And some people say, why do you, you come back from break and then you drink your green tea. Why don't you have your green tea over there when you take your break so we don't have to see you drinking your tea? Well, the green tea is here just for that reason. If there's a little coughing, if you get a little dry throat, you got to take a break, you got to right there, the green tea, drink, fine. So that's why I guess I should have 2 glasses of green tea, one right here and one over there for my break, so I can do it all at the same time. Through places. So now we're going to have a conversation about one of my favorite memes, memetics. Podcast is Human Meme with David Boles, coming to you live right now. One of my favorite memes is the phrase, "Leopards ate my face." I'm not talking about my skin cancer, although I should. Leopards Ate My Face is really now most infamous on Reddit. It's a wonderful Reddit subreddit group, online, gang of thieves, where they post interesting memes and stories about this idea of leopards eating your face. What are you talking about? Who are you referencing? Well, that's what we're going to discuss right now. I'm going to show you where it all came from as we dig into the leopard eating your face. What is the origin of the phrase, "Leopards ate my face"? Leopards Ate My Face is a Reddit community for people who have brought their own misfortune upon themselves. That's the key. And I'll tell you, just from my experience, Leopards Ate My Face usually comes from people who are termed as Karens and people who tend to be highly sycophantic right-wingers, as we'll see. But what is the origin of "Leopards Ate My Face"? Well, here we go. The meaning of the phrase "leopard ate my face" means someone was hurt by what they supported or voted for. That's the key. It sounds very technical and confusing, but it's not. "Leopards ate my face" is often used in political contexts, but it can also be applied to other situations, as we'll subsequently see. So here's kind of where it all started. What is the origin of "Leopards Ate My Face"? Well, here you go. October 16, 2015, Adrian Bott posted on what was then affectionately known as the Twitter. And he said, quote, "I never thought leopards would eat my face," unquote, sobs woman who voted for the Leopards Eating People's Faces party. Now, that's a little confusing, but very funny, if you think about it. The phrase "Leopards Ate My Face" originated in a tweet by Adrian Bott. The tweet went viral in 2015, spawning the popular expression "Leopards ate my face" to convey the idea that one has caused their own problems. Fast forward to today, 2023, and people are still using the phrase to mock those who support policies that are ultimately against their own well-being. And this talks about the creation of the subreddit. Here are some examples of "Leopards Ate My Face." A single mother named Crystal voted for Donald Trump because she wanted him to hurt people who opposed him. But after the U.S. government shut down in 2019, she found out that she was the one being hurt by Trump. Crystal, a secretary at a federal prison, was out of work during the shutdown and unable to care for her children and her disabled parents. "I voted for him, and he's the one who's doing this," she said. "I thought he was going to do good things. He's not hurting the people he needs to be hurting." Leopards ate my face. Here's another example. After funding conservative candidates that were focused on abortion, bathrooms, and transgender restrictions, Republican Party megadonor Peter Thiel found out himself he was unhappy with the party's direction. As a result, he decided to refrain from donating to any candidates running for office in 2024. In response to the story, a Redditor in the Leopards Ate My Face community commented, "You bought the ticket, Thiel. Now you take the ride." Another example in business. A person bought a product that was advertised as easy to assemble, but they found it difficult to put together. As a result, they had to hire someone to assemble it for them. Leopards ate my face. Another example, a customer who buys a product that is advertised as being long-lasting only to find out it breaks after a few months of use. Leopards ate my face. In the idea of decisions, a father who named his kid Hitler is tired of being treated like garbage. Leopards ate my face. A man in Italy was going bald, so he decided to get bangs tattooed on his forehead. After seeing the horrible tattoo, he started to cry. Leopards ate my face. But that's not just enough. Let's go and see what the Urban Dictionary has to say about leopards ate my face. Leopards ate my face when I voted for the Leopards Eating People's Faces party as a parody subreddit, which is almost exclusively features content of people regretting their choice of voting for Brexit. Or Trump. That's where it started. How do you feel about Brexit as a Brexit voter? Well, I never thought it would be such a S show. Leopards ate my face when I voted for the Leopards Eating People's Faces party. Know your meme? Leopards eating people's faces. Again, how it began. Here's an example. Donald Trump says, in light of the attack from the invisible enemy, as well as the need to protect the jobs of great American citizens, I will be signing an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration to the United States. And one of his fanatics replies, I am born and raised an American, and I voted for you. I work on a drilling rig in the Gulf of Mexico. I have a Philippine wife. We have been going through the visa process for 2 years. Please tell me this will not stop her from coming here. Surprise! Leopards ate my face. So I will put these links online on our Discord server, discord.gg/BOLES. So that's the setup. That's the idea of the Leopards Ate My Face meme. Now, how does it apply in reality? Well, I found this hilariously from January 4 of 2023 in the New York Times. Title of the article? Leopards Eat Kevin McCarthy's Face. By Michelle Goldberg, who's very funny and serious, lovely, interesting, intellectual, funny, silly, serious writer. Terrific stuff. And she writes, as we approach the anniversary of the January 6th attack, it's been grimly amusing to see that the party of insurrection can't even manage the orderly transfer of power to itself. Rarely does karma play out so neatly. Leopards ate my face. Kevin McCarthy nurtured the spirit of reactionary nihilism in the Republican Party, first by trying to harness the energy of the Tea Party for his own ambition, and then by his near-total capitulation to Donald Trump. Now the chaotic forces he abetted to have, at least for the moment, derailed his goal of becoming House Speaker, subjecting him to multiple public humiliations at what was supposed to be his moment of triumph. And she goes on to explain all of these wonderful, interesting ways of how these people that Kevin McCarthy owes his political life to are now coming after him. Leopards ate my face. And here's an example from a couple of days ago. The University of Nebraska's Ted Carter is named the next president at Ohio State. And here's the leopards ate my face part. Carter had just been granted a bonus of $144,000 by Nebraska. Leopards ate my face. We paid the guy $144,000. He said thank you and moved to Ohio. Leopards ate my face. Now, if you know anything about the history of the Big Ten, if you know anything about the rivalry between Ohio State and Nebraska, you know that this whole thing is not just leopards eating your face, it is giraffes eating your heart. Because this is absolutely devastating to the University of Nebraska, and they are very proud people. We're number one. Nobody can compare to us. What's Ohio State doing, taking all of our people? And I'll tell you an example from 40 years ago when I was undergraduate at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And we were doing a show at the university, and the head of the department, the chair, very happy, nice home, living well in Lincoln, Nebraska. And he received an inquiry from Ohio State University saying, hey, drop everything you're doing in Lincoln, pick up, move here, and run the theater program at Ohio State. Now, Ohio State's a huge school, for 50, 60,000 students. Nebraska's very small, comparatively speaking. And this guy who was the chair of the department wasn't really interested in moving. And they said, Ohio State said, name your price. And so the chair said, okay, well, came up with some ridiculously outrageous number. I think it was something like 4 times as much as he was being paid at the University of Nebraska. And almost instantly, Ohio State said to that outrageous offer, counteroffer, done. Come on over. So this guy who didn't want to leave Nebraska, very happy, had set up a lot of interesting things in theater and the community, was suddenly put on the spot to get up and leave. And he very happily did, because it was a lot of money, a better school, and he landed at Ohio State, stayed there for the rest of his career. Very happy. It was the right decision for everyone. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, all the University of Nebraska people were very upset, disengaged, believe that anyone would ever want to leave the great state of Nebraska for a terrible place like Ohio State. And meanwhile, Ohio State's getting better and bigger and stronger and everything, and Nebraska's losing people. And in that aftermath, Nebraska had a hard time finding a chair, a competent chair of the theater department. And there was one guy who they hired, I guess sight unseen, said he had an MFA, all of this information, said he was an assistant director on the Will Rogers Follies. And somebody had contacted me because they knew I was working on the Will Rogers Follies. They said, have you heard about this guy, our new chair? I said, what? Yeah, I said, yeah, he's working with you on the Will Rogers Follies. I was Peter Stone's assistant. And I said, that name isn't familiar to me, but I'll find out. And I went and I asked the directors and the other people, stage managers, have you heard of this person? And they said, no. And I said, well, this is the story. And they were like horrified because people lie. And they didn't like the idea that somebody was using the good name of the Will Rogers Follies to get the chairmanship at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. So I reported back to my friend and said, "No, everybody doesn't know this person. He's lying." And it's very upsetting as a Nebraskan that, not that this scammer got the job, but that the university didn't do its due diligence in vetting them. I mean, how hard is it to get hired at the chair of the university professor, where you can just make things up and get hired? So they checked into it. Then they did their due diligence. They found out this guy not only lied about the Will Rogers Follies, but he also lied about having an MFA degree in theater. He had no advanced degree. And I guess when the university confronted him about it, he just disappeared. Never came back. Didn't get a check. Packed up the station wagon and hightailed it out of town. So there's a little bit of history there between Nebraska and Ohio State. I don't know if Nebraska is able to steal people from Ohio State, but Ohio State seems to regularly see Nebraska as the farm team for the Ohio State University. So this was such a rich and awful leopard eating my face story. You pay a guy $144,000 because he's doing a great job, and he takes the money and runs to your biggest rival. Leopards ate my face. So, hey, we live in an interesting world. You have a little skin cancer going on, get all that taken care of, get it burned off. You talk about business and the university and leopards eating your face. And it all seems to kind of spin around each other, become satellites, and all come together in one glorious, ugly, awful final event. And now we're going to finish the day with this very interesting story about what's eating you. There's a new pill, it looks like this, that you can swallow, and that does seem to be some electrical wire wrapped around a plastic-looking pill. A new pill regulates appetite through electrical stimulation of the gut. So I guess you swallow this pill and then you're not hungry. Now, is that amazing? A new electrical pill may be able to regulate people's appetites without any drugs or invasive medical procedures. A promising advantage in treating eating disorders and other medical conditions that benefit from adjusting someone's food intake. The gut and the brain communicate through a neural pathway known as the gut-brain axis, AXIS, which regulates many bodily functions. Flash, the name of this pill, is the first ingestible electronic device shown to engage with the gut to modulate hormones that regulate brain activity on the gut-brain axis. By using the nervous system to alter the release of certain gut hormones, Flash can potentially treat a host of disorders related to metabolism and eating without pharmaceuticals or surgery. If this is true, it's a godsend for people who cannot lose weight. You take a pill, you get a little electrical stimulation going, and you're not hungry and you don't have to eat. It's a big step forward in how we approach these diseases. While electrical stimulation of the gastrointestinal tract can increase appetite, this approach has typically required surgery, which comes with inherent risks. The effectiveness of this method may be limited by the presence of fluids in the stomach and the intestines, too. Flash has no side effects, no surgical intervention is needed. It's a breakthrough for several reasons. It provides pills that do not contain drugs and can be designed to deliver electrical impulses to regulate physiology. It's amazing. I wonder, if you even have self-control of it. They give you a little button to push. Hey, I'm feeling a little hungry. Meat, 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 meat. And then your hunger goes away. Maybe. Unlike drugs, which have broad uptake in the gut, electrical pulses can be designed to target specific cells and locations for targeted therapy. A second crucial innovation is the surface design. The gut lining is an extremely wet environment, which presents difficulty when trying to deliver electricity. Uh-oh. Looking to nature, we find other scenarios where micro-patterned surfaces can wick fluid, enabling sturdy electrical connections in the body. So that is really interesting technology. Now, this to me is what technology should be all about. Just not about AI and all that, but how can we try to help people where we don't have to go in there and cut out their stomach or make it smaller so they don't gain weight? We don't have to feed them all kinds of medication that can have really dangerous side effects. I mean, we can give them a little pill and hope they don't get electrocuted, but the stimulation of such a pill through electric impulses, they can tell the brain, hey, I'm down here, it's looking good, I'm in the stomach, we're full, by the way. So if you're thinking of, trying to eat something, you don't have to because we feel completely full, we're alert and we're aware. Now, do you have to take that pill every day? Does it stay in your gut? Can it get stuck in your gut? Do you poop it out every day? Do you have to retrieve it from your poop? I don't know. But the whole idea is very interesting, and I cannot wait to learn more about it. So that is our show for the day. I thank you so much for being here. I hope you are well. You know where to find me online if you have any comments or criticisms or thoughts of how to improve the show. I thank you so much for being here. I'll see you again soon.